Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy and coming up in the next 30 minutes. The National Democratic Alliance's candidate CP Radhakrishnan wins the Vice President election in a two-cornered contest against the opposition's nominee and former Supreme Court Judge B. Doordarshan Reddy with a 152-vote margin. Israel Defense Forces say they've targeted senior Hamas leadership in Qatari capital Doha, where the group has a political office, as smoke is seen rising over the Qatar district in the city. Prime Minister Narendra Modi conducts aerial survey of flood-hit Himachal Pradesh and Punjab, gets an overview of the situation from flood victims as well as officials, announces financial assistance for both the states and other support. And the unrest in Nepal refuses to be quelled even after Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigns. Gen Z protesters torch parliament and other government buildings. Even the Supreme and lower courts are not spared. NDA candidate and Maharashtra Governor CP Radhakrishnan has won the vice presidential election. He defeated the opposition's Indi bloc candidate, former Supreme Court Judge B. Doordarshan Reddy. Radhakrishnan polled 452 first preference votes, while Doordarshan Reddy secured 300 first preference votes. Earlier in the day, senior ministers of the government, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, had cast their ballots. Parliamentarians cutting across party lines had queued up to cast their votes inside the Parliament complex since the morning. The day also saw Speaker of India's lower house of Parliament, Om Birla, also casting his ballot in the vice presidential contest.
As all of you are aware, the value of votes for the presidential election is 1. Shri Bucci Reddy Sudarshan Reddy has secured 300 first preference votes and Shri CP Radhakrishnan has secured 452 first preference votes. As the first preference votes secured by Shri CP Radhakrishnan was greater than the requisite quota, in pursuance of provisions contained in Section 11 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Act 1952, 31 of 1952, read with Rule 35 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Rules 1974, I, PC Modi, the returning officer for the Vice Presidential Election 2025, hereby declare that Shri CP Radhakrishnan, Jal Bhushan, Raj Bhavan, Walkeshwar Road, Malabar Hill, Mumbai, has been duly elected to the office of Vice President of India.
Chaired a meeting in Kangra to review the relief efforts and damage incurred. Prime Minister Modi announced a financial assistance of 1,500 crore Indian rupees for the state, including early release of second installment of SDRF and PM Kisan Samman Nidhi. Prime Minister Modi also met with families affected by the calamity and expressed his condolences for the loss of lives. The PM announced an ex gratia of 2 lakh Indian rupees to the next of kin of those who've been killed and 50,000 rupees INR to those seriously injured. The Prime Minister also met members of the NDRF, as the National Disaster Response Force, the State Disaster Response Force and Avda Mitra teams, and appreciated their efforts in the relief and response measures. Prime Minister Modi acknowledged the gravity of the situation and assured that the central government will make all efforts to address the situation. Let me now take you back to our top story, where the NDA's candidate has won the election for the Vice President of the country. So CP Radhakrishnan is the Vice President-elect of India. Dibendra Mondal, my colleague, joins us from New Delhi for more on this. Bendu, you've been tracking the polling that took place since the morning. Prime Minister Modi being one of the earliest there to cast his ballot before he headed off to Punjab and Himachal Pradesh. But tell us, this was a contest that already had a foregone conclusion, didn't it?
Well, Gautam, absolutely. You know, from the day one when the candidate was announced, it was pretty clear that the NDA had the numbers stacked in their favor. And this is exactly what we saw when the election results were announced just a short while back by the returning officer and also the Secretary General of the upper house, which is the Rajya Sabha, wherein, CP Radhakrishnan has received 452 votes as against his opponent, which is the India Alliance's candidate B. Sudarshan Reddy, who has received 300 votes. So therefore, it's a clear win of over a large number of votes wherein the NDA candidate has managed to secure. So therefore, we have seen this election, wherein all the members of parliament did turn out. It was about 98% turnout, voter turnout this time around. With just about a couple of MPs, 13 MPs in total that had abstained from voting, which includes, of course, following the party directions of those MPs, which includes the BRS, the BJD, as well as the Shiromani Akali Dal MPs that did not turn out to vote because it was their party's directive. But apart from that, we have seen 100% turnout in terms of all the political parties that were participating in this election. So therefore, as you said, it was given from day one that the NDA candidate was going to win hands down with a large margin. Of course, because of the fact that the numbers are clearly stacked in favor of CP Radhakrishnan. And also, interestingly, Gautam, the YSR CP that is in opposition in Andhra Pradesh against the TDP's Chandrababu Naidu also throwed his weight around CP Radhakrishnan, and his 11 MPs also voted in favor of CP Radhakrishnan, increasing the NDA tally to about 452, which we witnessed when the results were announced.
Right. And what happens next now? When do you think the swearing-in will take place, and when will the country get a new vice president?
Well, Gautam, it's just a matter of time now. There is a celebration that is also planned at Prahlad Joshi's residence in a short while from now, where all the NDA MPs will be gathering for congratulating CP Radhakrishnan for this historic win and being elected as the new Vice President of India. And of course, remember, Gautam, this election was necessitated after the resignation of the erstwhile Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, citing ill health. And it was, of course, a midterm election, and Jagdeep Dhankar had about 2.5 years to complete his term. But as per the constitution, the new Vice President will get a full 5 term from the day he swears into office, and the swearing in is likely to happen by this week itself. It is the President of India that will swear in the new Vice President, and the Vice President of India plays an important constitutional role, which is as the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. His primary responsibility would be the smooth functioning of the upper house, which is the Rajya Sabha. So therefore, it is expected that by the end of this week, we could see from, Vice President-elect to formally being the Vice President of India, will have CP Radhakrishnan on that chair.
All right, Bendi, thank you so much for that update. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also visited flood-affected North Indian state of Punjab today along with Himachal Pradesh. The PM conducted an aerial survey of the area to take stock of the flood-affected region. Prime Minister Modi also interacted with the families of those who've been hit by the floods. Further, the PM also interacted with the relief and rescue teams along with the National Disaster Response Force personnel. Prime Minister Modi also chaired a review meeting in Punjab's Gurdaspur. He took stock of the situation due to the floods and reviewed the ongoing relief and rehabilitation efforts. The meeting took place with senior officials on the extent of damage in Punjab due to the recent floods. The Prime Minister has announced a financial assistance of 1,600 crore INR for Punjab in addition to 12,000 crore INR already in the state's kitty. There will be advance release of the second installment of SDRF and PM Kisan Samman Nidhi as well. Now, Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned on Tuesday after 19 protesters were killed and more than 300 injured during nationwide demonstrations on Monday against corruption and misrule. President Ramchandra Paudel has approved the resignation tendered by Prime Minister Oli with effect from today. Meanwhile, the youth continue to protest on roads and government buildings have been attacked. On Tuesday, Singh Darbar, Supreme Court, Special Court, Kathmandu District Courts and Parliament building were also torched along with the homes of many political leaders and current ministers. Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport is also closed as curfew continues till further notice. Now, in view of the developing situation in Nepal, India has issued an advisory for its citizens there. Indian citizens have been advised to defer travel there until the situation has stabilized. Indian citizens presently in Nepal have been advised to take shelter in their current places of residence, avoid going out onto the streets and to exercise all due caution. They have also been advised to follow local safety advisories from Nepalese authorities as well as the Embassy of India in Kathmandu. And in case of any assistance being required, Indian citizens can call the Indian Embassy in Kathmandu on the following helpline numbers. That's +977 980 860 2881. Also +977 981 032 6134. But India has dispatched a significant tranche of medical assistance to Mozambique on Tuesday, reinforcing its commitment to supporting key partners in the global south. The first consignment of aid comprising essential medicines, surgical supplies and medical consumables was delivered through an Indian Coast Guard vessel. The support is expected to improve Mozambique's healthcare infrastructure, particularly in underserved regions facing resource constraints. The Israeli military and intelligence agency Shin Bet said that they've targeted senior Hamas leaders in an airstrike on Tuesday, accusing them of orchestrating the 7th of October attacks. The statement followed reports of multiple explosions in Doha, Qatar, where Hamas leadership is believed to reside. Witnesses reported plumes of smoke near a guarded residential compound. Israeli media claimed the strike targeted top Hamas official Khalil al-Haya. Qatar, which has been mediating in the conflict, condemned the strike as a cowardly act and a violation of international law. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Norway's Labour Party government narrowly wins a second term in power. Ethiopia inaugurates Africa's largest hydroelectric dam.
This week on Defense Dynamics, from choke points to commands, the Indo-Pacific is on the edge. India and Singapore forge the Indo-Pacific Shield. Can deterrence hold at sea lanes? GST 2.0, when tax reforms fuels combat readiness. China's Dragon Parade dazzles with power. What lies beneath the camouflage paint? And India's theatre commands are not an option but a necessity. Catch it all on Defense Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Gautam Roy. France has entered a new phase of political suspense after Prime Minister Francois Bayrou lost a confidence vote and resigned. With no clear leadership in place, ordinary citizens are left wondering how long will this uncertainty last and what does it mean for their daily lives. Search for stability is on and choices made in the coming days could reshape the country's future. DD India's Rohini Gosavi has this report from Paris.
France's government has finally collapsed after French Prime Minister François Bayrou lost his confidence vote in parliament. He is the third Prime Minister to resign in just 1 year. Many French people feel some relief. Some are celebrating Bayrou's exit. But question remains, what next? What will President Macron will do now? What are his choices? Right now he has three choices. The first one to appoint a new Prime Minister from his own party. But the parliament is split, and the leader from the same party might also be rejected quickly. Macron could instead look to another party, maybe the Socialists or the Greens, to build a bigger coalition. Some experts say he might even choose a neutral figure, not to link to any party, to calm things down and handle the budget. The second option to dissolve parliament and call new elections. That would send voters back to the polls in few weeks. But this is risky for Macron, because far-right leader Marine Le Pen is strong in the polls. If her party wins, Macron would have to share power with his biggest rival. And third option to keep Bayrou in place as caretaker Prime Minister. He would only handle daily government work until a long-term solution is found. Adding to this pressure, there will be nationwide protest. These protests were meant to oppose Bayrou's budget earlier. But now, with Bayrou's exit and there will be no government to protest against, people will march to demand Macron's resignation. A big turnout will show the public's anger and could push Macron to act faster. For now, France is waiting. Protest could put pressure on Macron and affect his future decisions. And how he will react will decide the future of government. This is Rohini Gosavi in Paris for DD India.
France remains on tenterhooks. Now, Norway's minority Labour Party government won a second term in power on Monday, while the populist right achieved its best ever election result in a ballot dominated by concerns over rising living costs and conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza. Incumbent Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store's Labour and four smaller left-leaning parties won 87 seats, above the 85 needed for a majority, with 99% of the ballots counted. Store will remain heavily reliant on his smaller allies, however, to pass major legislation such as fiscal budgets. And upon his re-election, Jonas Gahr Store said that the country should continue to explore for oil and gas and remain a reliable energy supplier to Europe.
Norway is also a leading energy nation, important for Europe, providing about 35% of Europe's gas. We will continue to be a reliable partner, but also to take forward technological shifts, cut emissions, and live up to our climate obligations.
Thailand's influential former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra was sent to prison on Tuesday after the Supreme Court ruled his hospital detention was a ploy to avoid jail. The billionaire had spent only a few hours in prison upon his return from 15 years of self-exile in August 2023, before he was hospitalized after complaining of heart trouble and chest pain. The court on Tuesday said Thaksin must go back to serve a year in prison, as both he and his doctors had intentionally prolonged his hospital stay with minor surgeries which were unnecessary. Let's get you some more stories that have been making news internationally. Ethiopia inaugurated the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on Tuesday, with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed assuring Egypt and Sudan that the hydropower project will not threaten their share of Nile waters. GERD has long been a flashpoint between Ethiopia and its Nile basin neighbors. Vietnam's Konda Archipelago, an important nesting location for turtles, is also a vital conservation site. It has 18 nesting beaches. Every year, thousands of volunteers join park rangers to clean the beaches of plastics to make it a safer place for turtles to nest and breed during June to October. Asian Games champion Sathik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty progressed to the second round of the Hong Kong Open badminton tournament with a hard-fought win on Tuesday. Sathik Chirag overcame the Chinese Taipei pair of Chui Xiang Chie and Wang Chi Lin 21-13, 18-21 and 21-10. The Indian duo was sharp in the opening game, but their opponents forced a decider by winning the second game. They regained control in the third game with their trademark net domination and powerful smashes. Meanwhile, former world number 1 Kidambi Srikanth was stunned in the qualifying round of the men's singles. Srikanth went down to compatriot Tarun Manipalli 28-26, 13-21 and 21-18. But Manipalli lost in the second round of the qualifiers. Olympians Lakshya Sen, HS Pranoy and two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu will start their campaigns on Wednesday. In football, Cristiano Ronaldo-led Portugal will take on Hungary in the World Cup qualifiers on Tuesday in Budapest. 8 players currently share the record of playing in 5 World Cups, but the Portuguese skipper is one of just 3 active players with a chance to make it 6. Roberto Martinez's side got their qualification campaign for next summer's tournament off to an emphatic start with a 5-0 drubbing of Armenia. It's a crucial game for Hungary as they have begun their quest to qualify for the FIFA World Cup for the first time since 1986. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code, download the app. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.